Welcome to Julie Whitney Scott presents Let's Talk Theater, a Mind for God production sponsored event, heard only on WGRN LP 94.1, the Green Renaissance Station. Let's Talk Theater.
Welcome, everyone, to Let's Talk Theater. I'm your host, Julie Whitney Scott, and I am very pleased and excited to be able to bring to you someone in this Central Ohio right now theater community who is well known. He's known for his acting ability. He's well known for his ability to direct. He's also well known for his ability to teach. Welcome, Christopher Austin, to Let's Talk Theater. I'm so happy that you were able to take time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
I'm really happy to be here. It's an honor. I'm glad to be talking with you today. You've been doing this for a long time, so this is the real deal.
Oh, I'm honored that you would say that. I really am. I want to talk to you about a couple of things. But first, for those people that don't really know you, other outside of the fact that, like I said, you have been given awards, you're a very, very strong activist. We are both together on that one here in our community, and not just with what's going on in the theater, but what's going on here where we live in our community. So you're very strong in social activism. And I also want to talk to you about the things that you're doing right now. Right now, you are a casting director at CATCO. So start off with introducing, I like for my audience to kind of get to know my people that I bring to them through their own mouth. Tell people a little bit about how did Christopher Austin, with everything that you do, how did you get into the theater?
It's an unlikely story for me because when I was coming up, I was very shy. I was incredibly shy. It was hard for me to open my mouth. And when I did open my mouth, I was mumbling, "Hey, Christopher, how are you?" "What'd you say, boy?" I said, "Open your mouth, enunciate." So my mom was an English teacher. She was helping me learn how to pronounce words correctly. I couldn't say my L's. I said Y. Mary had a yiddle yam. So it was starting out like that. It seemed unlikely that I would be getting into theater. So because I was a mumbler, I was very shy, very reserved. It didn't seem like I would be someone to get into getting in front of people. But I also grew up with a family very active in the church, and everybody was up in front of people. So it was kind of like it was a rite of passage to get on up there. You're going to do something for the Lord. You're going to do something. So that kind of got me out of my shyness and getting in front of people. But ultimately, come ninth grade, I really wanted to audition for the 12 Angry, we called it 12 Angry Jurors, because it wasn't just 12 Angry Men. The director wanted to have female and males up there. So it's called 12 Angry Jurors. I auditioned, got in, and then in front of the whole school, I about had a nervous breakdown because I realized the whole school's watching me and I'm on stage. My leg is shaking. I can't keep it from shaking. And I'm just, inside I'm doing all of this. But then finally, I could feel my first line coming up, and I'm like, my first line's coming up. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. And then I say the first line. I did it. I got through that first line. I can do this. And then I was able to look out on all the students in school, and I was like, wow, I am enjoying this. I'm inhabiting another character. They're into this. I'm into this. I can't believe I'm getting to do this. I'm getting to have this experience. And I was hooked after that. I realized that my voice that I had been shy about, that I had been nervous about, that I had been nervous and scared about being in front of people early in life, I learned at that moment that I had an impact and I could make an impact on other people. And that was through opening my mouth and telling stories and making an impact. So that made quite an impression for me.
And your voice is such an excellent voice. It's like it was made for radio, and it was made to do some sort of acting. It's just that type of commanding, that you have with your voice and that you have on the stage. I've seen you perform, and it's your presence. It's no matter what role you're playing, the presence that you bring. And I'm glad you brought that up earlier when you was talking about how you realized, like, oh, I can be another character, because you truly become these characters that you perform. And I am really big on characters. I'm like that. I love doing. One of the things I like about acting is because, hey, I get to play somebody else and be other people. You also talked about how acting can influence and affect. Since we're here, and I like to keep things flowing right where I'm at. Talk to me and my audience about how the theater, how important it is, or is it important, and how does that in line with your social activism? Because you are a part of not just the theater community, but you're part of the theater, of the community, that we live in, and not just in our immediate neighborhoods, but outside of our neighborhoods, and influencing other people. How does that work? How did that connection happen for you? And has that happened?
Wow, that's a big question. And I'm glad you asked that, because that's a question that I actually almost think about daily. I ask myself, how is this thing evolving and forming over time? And I remember my freshman year at Otterbein studying theater. The professor asked us, how do we define theater? And I basically saw, because I grew up with family members serving in the church, I saw theater as social outreach. I saw it as taking the stories of people in the community, letting the stories be heard so that other people can gain an awareness of what's really going on in other people's lives that they may otherwise not be privy to. So that, to me, is whenever you're telling a story, you're given power. And when you're given power, you're given authority to affect change in people's lives. Stories are what we live by. And you went to school for counseling, so I know you know this, and I went to school for counseling. We live and die by the stories we believe. We live and die by the stories we tell ourselves. So it makes sense that people, all of us, are attracted to a particular story. Something as a kid, as a teen, as an adult, something, no matter what our age, something resonated with something inside of us. And we finally felt, I don't know these people personally, I never met them, but somehow I feel seen. Somehow I feel heard. And this story represents my life experiences. And that's something that I latch onto and I'm very passionate about, because I see that the story, look at politics, talk about activism. All of it comes down to telling a story and who can tell a convincing story. Look at our court system. Who can tell a story and who can tell a convincing story, and who has the evidence to back it up, right? But it all comes down to the narrative. Who has the powerful narrative? And when you look at all the ways that stories are shaping our lives, we have to own our stories and not let other people tell our stories for us. Am I making sense?
You're making absolute sense. Stories are us, um, and one of the things I've found as a writer who writes not just plays, but poems. I do poetry, I do short stories, I do journalism. You name it, I've done it, and I sometimes try to think about, oh, let me think of a story that nobody knows about. And I want to do something. And every time, Chris, I do, bam, it come up with something, I'll be like, oh, that was already done. Oh, that's already done. And the reason it's already done is because we all our lives are similar in the things that we live, feel, do, you know? And because of that, and because emotions are emotions, regardless of how a person displays an emotion. I'm angry outwardly. I hurt people. I'm angry. Angry inwardly. I hurt myself. I cut myself. I'm happy and hey. I'm happy, but I'm happy because I'm drunk. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
emotions are, but they're still the same. As far
Right.
as happy, mad, whatever, how you display it is the difference in it. And your stories, we born, we live. Some of us we bless, we work. We play, we hope. We die. You see, and those are things that are similar. Um, you are now the casting director at CATCO, correct?
That's right.
Casting to me is such a very important piece to anything, in when you're producing a play, because that's where the characters are coming from, and that's how the story's going to develop. I want to be for us to talk here candidly about this, and I'll say this. This is what I've this recently. There's been a push to have more diversity and inclusion and equity, not only in everything in the world, but in theater. And here in Central Ohio, we're working very hard, I believe, to strive to reach that goal, to try to, as you and I have talked about, bring stories uh, to life that reflect all of us. And some people are saying that it's difficult to find minority actors. We can't find them. They're not here. We can't find Black directors. We can't find Black costume designers and set designers and music directors. I want to ask you, because now you are taking on this challenge of becoming a casting director. How difficult, and is it difficult, to find minority actors and all the other things that make up the theater?
Well, first, I want to say that you talked about this push for equity and diversity and inclusion. And my immediate response is, according to whose definition are we using for equity, diversity, and inclusion? Because you have people that say, well, we gave you the stereotypical role, you're up on stage, we included you. Whose definition of diversity and inclusion are we using? You got Amos and Andy back in the 1950s, early 1950s, Black characters originally portrayed by white people, blackface minstrel shows back in the 1830s, making fun of African Americans, and then in turn African Americans making fun of the ludicrous portrayals of them, and later, and so I guess I'm just saying, when you think about Hattie McDaniels getting her Oscar playing Mammy and Gone with the Wind, and she worked very hard. She has an amazing life story. She has an incredible, amazing life story. They wouldn't even give her the Oscar. They gave her the Oscar, but she had to immediately leave the stage because it was a segregated hotel. So I guess I'm just saying, whose definition are we using? Because our definition of equity, diversity, and inclusion is going to look a lot different from the people who are claiming we want non-BIPOC, African-American, people of color. Their definition oftentimes seems to be very different. So I think we need to make sure we're all on the same page about what that means, because often when you go by that so-called traditional casting means all white. That's what it means. In case people don't know, traditional casting means you just put white people in for all the roles. Non-traditional casting means, oh yeah, we can put a person of color in, and yeah, we're non-traditional. We can pat ourselves on the back here for that. I'm just being real. People got to know. Just got to tell it like it is.
And and that's why I wanted you on the show with me, and I'm so grateful that you had the time to do it, to be on this show, because we have to talk candidly sometimes about this. And now all of a sudden, since now this seems like, oh wow, what are we going to do? How do we find them? Where are they at? And when the truth of the matter is, we've always been here.
Always.
We've always been here. We're it's easy to find, and
Mm-hmm.
and it always goes back to, and as you said, so what are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
See, what are you advertising for? Who are you advertising to? If you only put tradition notices and let people know that you're looking for a role in your traditional only groups
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, well, that tells me that you're not looking for me,
Right.
because I have to go to you to find out what you have and what you have available, versus you seeking out me to let me know I have this. But it falls back into what you were saying about the traditional, the traditional. And one of the things that I think that you said was just so important. One, I want to piggyback off of two things. Number one, like you said, and it's almost sometimes when you look at these shows that, or when you go to see plays in the theater or the movies, they're just like these. You see us in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say me, I'm not just talking about me as a Black woman. I'm talking about minorities. I'm talking about people who are not traditionally white presenting, actors, directors, whatnot, that kind of thing. So as a casting person, I guess you have to decide, am I going traditional, non-traditional? But I think also, and you tell me if I'm hitting something here, I think it's also on the actual companies that are producing it. Because if the only thing you're producing is traditional plays, and your justification for not including others in your traditional season is because you only are producing things that you consider traditional and don't want to rock the boat. Okay. And am I wrong in thinking that we, and I say this because I'm a production company, theater company, and don't we have responsibilities on what we're producing that would cause us to not have these roles available?
So what you're saying reminds me of a story I heard recently about a Canadian theater company. I believe it was in Canada, and they wanted to produce a show with predominantly Black actors. So they put it on their season, and then they put out a casting call, and then they forgot, oh wait, we don't live in any sort of area where people of color live. And so they canceled the show. They canceled the show. They canceled the show. So, wow. Okay. So here's what I have done as a casting director. You can't get anything in life if you don't do some footwork, if you don't do some hustle. If you're looking for certain people that you don't know yet, maybe they're not on your radar, maybe they're not in your database or whatever. Do you know what you do? You go out and find them. There's so much talent in this city. You literally go out and find people. I had cards. I was handing out cards to people. I was emailing people. I was emailing agencies, not like just theater companies, but like social connection agencies, people that do work in the community. And I was emailing and made contacts with this Columbus City Schools, with OSU, with Columbus State, with Otterbein. I was doing the footwork and the leg work and casting a net, casting a big net, because You don't get what you don't look for. You don't get what you don't look for. That's a guarantee. You're not gonna, if you're not looking for it, you're not gonna find it. So I find that to be a cop out, that argument, well, we don't know where they are. Get off your and do some work. Do it. Get out
The
there.
bottom line. That's the bottom line is, what do you mean? You know, and like you said, it's a cop out. It's a cop out. Oh, well, we don't live where any of these people are, so we'll just cancel it and then pat myself on the back because I tried.
At least I tried. If you wanted to
we tried, you know.
Yeah, if you wanted to put that on your list, then ask other theater companies in the area, get out into the community, make connections, offer actors that don't live around you to come in and be a part of your community because you sincerely want to build something new. You sincerely care about the voice of representation and you want these stories to be told. It takes work, not just good intentions. Good intentions, I've heard, is the pathway to hell. That's what I've heard. You know, it isn't about what you thought, it's about what you did. Now, what did you do?
It is a path directly, as old folks they would say, directly to hell. You're absolutely right. You know, we have to do the work. When I started my company, Mind for God Productions, and I started the Black Theater Festival, I remember putting out that I was looking for auditions for people everywhere, like you said, and getting responses sometimes from white people that would ask me, they would say, oh, are you hiring white actors? Because it was, and I was like, yes, you know, just because I'm African American, the stories, we all live together. This is, you know, yes, you know, so sometimes it's, you have to do the work, like you said. If you need and want truly to have produce things that are not just all traditional, you have to do the legwork. You have to network. You have to be out there. And you also have to go and also see some of the things that other companies are doing. You also have to, I feel, be in the seat. I think we have a lot of lacking of that also, of not seeing each other as theater companies and workers in the seats. You know, it's like we were just focused on getting our audience members to come to see our stuff, but we're not as focused on getting out to see things also, as you were saying. Get out there, go see what other people are doing. You know, when you go to other plays and see other theater companies, that's how you find other actors. That's how you see that there are other actors out there and other directors. And oh, look at that set design. Who did that? You know, you have to get out there. You can't just stay in your own little world, in your own little theater community company and go, well, you know, hey, I can't find nobody. So let's talk about this. You guys just did the Schoolgirls, which was magnificent.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, I enjoyed it on so many levels that I did a review of it and wrote.
I saw that this morning. It was glowing. I
couldn't. I thought about it all night. I slept on it. I thought about it. I woke up this morning. It was just riveting in my soul. Let's talk about the stories that you guys at CATCO have been presenting and are going to continue to present this next upcoming season. Starting with Schoolgirls for me. That play was tremendous. When you talk about casting, with the new mission statement that CATCO has, that they have really been putting in the play, not just talking the talk, walking that walk. You have been casting for these plays and finding these wonderful people. Where'd you find those girls in this?
Hard work and
discipline. They were all that whole ensemble, all of them.
Well, Wilma
and when I was watching this, and I thought, wow, look at all this talent we have with these young people. That look at them, just young, and just, in my opinion, stole the show for me. That ensemble, those the girls, they were magnificent. Mm-hmm. Talk about casting for the plays that you got coming up, the prima donnas, and all these things, where you guys at CATCO are really, like you said, doing the work to bring these different stories from different people.
Yeah, so I work with Chanel very closely to find those actors for schoolgirls. I mean, we were, as she said, we were searching high and low. We spent time, a long time, finding people, looking for people, reaching out to people individually, but also getting out there into schools and making connections, because we needed people that, were close to that age range. You can't have as good as some women look at 50, you may not be able to pass for 18 or 17 or 16 anymore. Okay. I'm sorry to say
you don't want to miss Christopher and I in part 2 of Let's Talk Theater. And how hard is it to find Black and brown actors, etc., in Central Ohio theater world? Thank you for joining me, Julie Whitney Scott, your producer and host of Let's Talk Theater, a Mind for God Productions sponsored event, heard only on WGRN LP 94.1. For the full video interview, go to my Julie Whitney Scott Facebook page.